Bruchim Haboim is with great pleasure and joy to invite you to Dirshu's Amud Yomi. We begin the Shas together, Be'ezer Hashem. The beginning of the Shas starts with the topic of Kriya Shema. And the question is, why? Why did the Chachmei HaShas begin with this topic of Kriya Shema? The Chachmei Shlomo brings B'Shem the Riaz, is based on the pasuk Reishis Chochma Yiras Hashem, because the contents of Kriya Shema is Yichud Hashem, the oneness of Hashem, Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shomayim, Ol Torah V'Ol Mitzvahs. Let us begin Be'ezer Hashem. Me'emasai Korin Eshma. Ask the Tana, from when do we begin saying Kriya Shema Shel Arvis? Mishor shehakohanim nichnosim le'echol betrumoson. At Seis HaKoichovim, when a Kohen is Tameh, he needs two things in order to be able to eat Truma. First, he has to be Toivel in a mikvah, and then once nightfall, Seis HaKoichovim comes, what's called Herav Shemesh, he's then able to eat the Truma. So the earliest time a person can say Kriya Shema, says Artana, is from the time of Seis HaKoichovim. Until when? At Soif HaAshmura HaRishoina. Divrei Rebbe Eliezer. Rebbe Eliezer is the opinion that one can say Kriya Shema until the end of the first Ashmura. The Hainu, the night is broken up to three different parts. The end of the first part is the time when a person can still say Kriya Shema Shel Arvis, which would be up until the fourth hour. V'chachomim oimrim ad chatzois. The Chachomim argue on Rebbe Eliezer, and they say you can still say Kriya Shema later until Chatzois, the middle of the night. Rabban Gamliel oimer ad sheyale omer hashachar. One can say Kriya Shema until the morning, until daybreak, what we call dawn, or Amud Hashachar, which is a machlokes 72 minutes before the Neitz HaChama, or 90 minutes before the Neitz HaChama. Maise ubo bonav mibeis HaMishnah. The Mishnah brings a Maisa where the children of Rabban Gamliel came back from a chasana in the middle of the night after Chatzos, but before Amud HaShachar. Omru loy karina eshma. They said to their father, we did not yet say Kriya Shema. Omar lohem, he said back to them, Im kain, Im loy Allah Amud HaShachar chayovin atem likrois. If the dawn did not yet break, if Amud HaShachar did not yet come, then you are obligated to say Kriya Shema. V'lo zu bilvad omru. And you should know, not only is this my opinion, but this is the opinion of the Chachamim. They also agree you can still say Kriya Shema until Amud HaShachar. Elo kol ma she'omru Chachamim achatzois mitzvosen ad sheyal Amud HaShachar. Whenever they said that there's a mitzvah to do until Chatzois, it extends until Amud HaShachar. In other words, when there's a mitzvah to be done at night, that mitzvah can be carried on until the morning, until Amud HaShachar. For example, Hekter chalovim ve'evorim mitzvosan ad sheyal Amud HaShachar. When the fats and the limbs of the korban, for example, a korban tamid, which is brought up in the altar, on the mizbeach, can be brought up on the mizbeach, not only until Chatzos, but all the way until Amud HaShachar. V'chol hanecholim liyoim echod mitzvosen ad sheyal Amud HaShachar. And when a korban is eaten, for example, a korban, like a korban toida, which has a day and a night, it can still be eaten the entire night, all the way until Amud HaShachar. Im kain, if so, lama amru chacham al chatzois. Why did they say that one needs to read the Mishnah, read the Kriya Shema until Chatzois? Kedei laharchik ha'adam min ha'aveira. They did so as what we call a siyag, a geder, in order to then prevent a person from doing an aveira. In this case, he'll be mevatel Kriya Shema bizmanoi. If a person is not careful to read Kriya Shema until Chatzois, so it's likely that he will then fall asleep or get carried away with something else, not enabling him to fulfill the mitzvah of Kriya Shema. So therefore, they said one needs to read the Kriya Shema until Chatzois. But truly they agree, if a person reads until Amud Shachar, the pashtus is that he's Yotzei as well. So it comes out that we have two main shitas here in our Mishnah. Everybody agrees, according to our Mishnah, L'chara, that the beginning of the Kriya Shema begins from Tzeis HaKoichavim. But there's a machlokes, two different shitas, until one can say Kriya Shema. The first shita, the shita is Rabbi Eliezer, who says only until the end of the first Ashmura, the first of the third of the night. And the second shita is Rabbi Gamliel, who the Chachamim also agree with, until Amud Shachar. What is the machlokes? The machlokes is, how do we understand the word uveshach becha? According to Rabbi Eliezer, uveshach becha means when you go lying down. People go lying down in their beds to go to sleep until the end of the first Ashmura. According to Rabbi Gamliel and the Chachamim, however, uveshach becha is read like this: and while you are laying down, and therefore people are still laying down until Amud HaShachar. Let us begin the Gemara Be'ez Hashem. The Gemara begins with the following two questions. Tana, heicha koi, diktoni me'emasai. The first question is, our Tana begins with a question of when. What are the parameters for saying Kriya Shema Shel Arvis? That follows that there's a chiyuv to say Kriya Shema. Where do we find the chiyuv to say Kriya Shema? And number two, Vesu, and further, Maishna the Tani Ba'arvis Bereisha, Lisni the Shacharis Bereisha. Why did the Tana choose to teach about Kriya Shema Shel Arvis before Kriya Shema Shel Shacharis? L'chara, the day begins in the morning, like we find from the Shulchan Aruch. All of the halachas begins B'hashkamas HaBoiker. Answers the Gemara, Tana Akroi Koi. Our Tana is basing himself on the following verse. Dichsiv, as it says in the Pasuk, Uveshach becha, b'shach becha uvkumecha. And therefore, that's the source for the obligation to read Kriya Shema, but also, it is in this order. Uveshach becha uvkumecha. V'hachiktani. And this is how you read the Mishnah. Zman Kriya Shema d'shechiva emas. When is the time for Kriya Shema Shel Shechiva? B'shah shehakayhanim nichnasim le'echol b'trumason. Now the Gemara brings an alternative answer for the second question. The question that we asked, why do we begin with Kriya Shema Shel Arvis before Kriya Shema Shel Shacharis? V'i bois ema yolif mibriyasa shel olam. Let us learn from the creation of the world, dichsiv, that it says in the pasuk, vayhi erev, vayhi boiker, yom echod. The Torah tells us that the day begins at night, and therefore the Tana appropriately begins with Kriya Shema Shel Arvis. Frag the Gemara, ihochi, if indeed this is so, that we begin either because of V'shach becha uvkumecha, or because of vayhi erev, vayhi boiker, and therefore we begin with Kriya Shema Shel Arvis and then speak about Kriya Shema Shel Shacharis. That is the order. Ask the Gemara, ihochi seifa diktani, the seifa that teaches, the seifa of our mission, which is found in our Gemaras and Daf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. B'shachar mevarech shtayim, lefoneh v'achas le'acharel, u'ba'erev mevarech shtayim lefoneh v'shtayim le'acharel. Our Tana says over there in the Hemshech, in the Seifa, Gabe Birkas Kriya Shema, that there are two brachos before the Kriya Shema Shel Shacharis, and one bracha after the Kriya Shema Shel Shacharis. Then it says there are two brachos before the Kriya Shema Shel Arvis, and two brachos after the Kriya Shema Shel Arvis. Frag the Gemara, Lisni the Arvis Bereisha. Let us teach Arvis Bereisha and be consistent with what we're saying here. Answers the Gemara, Tana Posach Ba'arvis, V'hodar Tani B'Shacharis. Our Tana over here begins by talking about Kriya Shema Shel Arvis, then it goes to the Kriya Shema Shel Shacharis. Once it talks about Kriya Shema Shel Shacharis, it talks about the details, including in this case, namely the brachos of the Kriya Shema Shel Shacharis, and then goes back to the Kriya Shema Shel Arvis. Ad dekoi b'Shachris, porish mili de Shachris, v'hodeh porish mili de Arvis. It begins by talking about the Kriya Shema Shel Shacharis in terms of the brachos, and then goes back to the Kriya Shema Shel Arvis and their brachos.